Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 update cycle so far has been an interesting one, to say the least. Obviously, when each game first launched, the updates were kind of sporadic and random. It would seem sometimes we'd randomly see a major update go live. Other times we'd see some small bug fixes here and there. That's kind of how it is at launch. Things will smooth out a bit more as we progress further and further on into the year. But as we look ahead towards future updates, future content updates, gameplay change updates, all sorts of stuff like that, there are a few concerns that I have between MW2 and Warzone 2 that I want to address. Also, I want to go through and basically break down what to expect in terms of updates here in the relatively near future. So first up here, let's focus on my concerns for some of these future updates. And this primarily is focused on the multiplayer side of things for Modern Warfare 2, because just being honest here, since the launch of Warzone 2, multiplayer has been, very much so overshadowed. Obviously, that's sort of to be expected to a certain extent. Yes, Warzone is the core focus for their main player base. That's where they have their largest player base because it is free to play. And DMZ is sort of, tacked on there as well because that's a part of the free to play experience too. Also rightfully so, because Warzone 2 and DMZ both have had a lot of issues since launch that needed addressing and needed fixing. But then you look at multiplayer, and while we have had a handful of updates that addressed multiplayer things here and there, the content side has been lacking. I mean, we look at Season 1 Reloaded, and we didn't really see all that much for multiplayer. Yes, we got the raid, which is cool, but that's sort of like a one and done type deal. Maybe you play it a couple of times to get some of the other rewards, or you want to do it on veteran. It's all right, but it's not something you're jumping on to grind every single day, right? It's a cool story thing, but it's nothing too crazy. And then for actual multiplayer content, a lot of it's shared between all three modes in MW2, Warzone 2, and DMZ, with the new weapon, with new operators. For multiplayer specific content, we got Shipment, which, let's be real, it's nice to have. Yeah, it's going to be great for camo grinding and leveling up quickly, but it's still another recycled map to stack on top of the already one recycled map that we have from the start of the season in Shoot House. So the Season 1 content offering gave us two maps that are not new. They're just recycled or remakes, and they're good maps for certain things, but it's still disappointing to not see any new multiplayer map content on your first major update of the year. On top of that, some of the original maps in the game are already struggling to stay in the game. Obviously, Museum, that was removed ever since the beta, basically, and we don't get to play on Museum anymore because of legal issues. There's still questions on if the hotel map is going to be able to stay in the game because of the legal issues there. So there's already maps that have been removed from the game, and we've yet to see a new unique one added outside of the Rocket League mode, which got a unique map before multiplayer did, as my buddy Espresso said a few days back. So definitely lacking in terms of that. And when we look forward, it's not much better news for the multiplayer side of things, at least. Now, obviously, we've got a ways to go until Season 2, and that's going to be part of a conversation here in a bit, but February 1st is that target date for Season 2 right now. So in the time between now and then, we're going to learn a lot more about what Season 2 is going to bring to all modes in the game. But what we know already, according to leaks and rumors, is that one of the new multiplayer maps, and at this point we can expect probably 2 to 3 maps per season, one of them is going to be another remake in Castle from World at War and Vanguard. So if that does end up coming to fruition, out of the first few maps that we've seen added to Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, they all would be remakes or reused maps and nothing actually new and unique. Now, if you're a fan of remakes, that's great, but also, being that this is a new game, I feel like there is a certain standard to expect when it comes to actual new content releasing. On top of that, it's also been rumored that we're going to have other reused content as well, in the form of Ronin returning as a new operator, then also potentially Velikan returning as a new operator. So the new content updates, at least for multiplayer, seem to be very underwhelming so far. Multiplayer is getting content updates, but a lot of this content is not necessarily new to the franchise. And moving forward, we already have all these leaks and rumors for the Year 2 content as well, which is supposedly all the old classic MW2 and MW3 and COD 4, iconic maps also all returning as remakes. So the reused, the recycled, the remade content here seems very overwhelming, and that does concern me for the longevity of MW2 multiplayer, when the unique content definitely is not nearly as frequent as some of the other content. So that to me is a bit disappointing. Now, as you heard me say earlier, we got a ways to go until Season 2 here, which is our next major update with really nothing confirmed here happening throughout all of January, maybe outside of a few reveals for season 2 content. So while we are lacking, actual content updates in that time, I'm hoping that they're going to use that time to add in many different fixes and upgrades and improvements, not only to Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, but also to Warzone 2 and DMZ as well. And I want to further expand on this just real quick though. If you guys are new to the channel, every single day, this is your one-stop shop for all things you need to know about Call of Duty. News, updates, class setups, tips, you name it, it is right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. Also, if you guys enjoy this video, let me know by dropping a like on it as well. Let's try and aim for 2,000 likes on this one. But yeah, in this sort of gap period that we now have between this point and the launch of season 2, not much content is expected. So after the devs do return from break here, I'm expecting things to ramp up in terms of gameplay improvements, updates, upgrades. Recently, they have definitely stepped it up in terms of overall communication. Really, since season 1 Reloaded dropped, we've been seeing more frequent updates, more frequent posts on their Twitters rather, Raven and Infinity Ward, talking about things they're aware of, things they're looking into, some mini updates and hot fixes that are going live. It's definitely improved, and I hope that trend continues after all the devs are back from holiday break. I'm really hoping this is not just a, hey, let's fit in as many new fixes as we can, and then we got to dip out for, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and the game's going to be in whatever state it is that we can get it to by the time that we're going out of office, right? So once the devs are back from break, they're like fully back, right? It's going to be full steam ahead. And with that, that's when we can start to expect the major updates. Big things like potential TTK changes in Warzone. You really can't do those kinds of updates, prior to going on break, because then if something's not working right after that update goes out, which, let's be honest, a lot of the time when these updates are dropping, they are still breaking several other things, even though they're fixing a handful of things to begin with. You can't do major gameplay altering updates if you're not going to be there long term going forward. So you have, people in office to fix things if things do end up breaking, which at this point we can assume at least something will, right? So I'd expect a lot more major updates, a lot more big gameplay changes to happen once we are, into January, in that gap period. With the start of season 2, we already know it's going to be a big update for DMZ, specifically with content and new, reasons to play that mode a little bit more. So we can expect that already. But for MW2 multiplayer, which is very content lacking and somewhat update lacking, I think big changes are to come after the new year. And then with Warzone 2, same deal as well. They can start to experiment a little bit more, see what the community, receives well, what the community doesn't like, and make drastic changes based off of that feedback, now that they actually have that sort of safety net of no big breaks standing in their way where the game would be left in a very poor state, which obviously the past couple of years it has been between the Cold War updates and the Vanguard updates. We don't need a Krampus V2 situation or a DMR Zone V2 situation going on, right? So near future, I'm really hoping we start to see more unique content. That is a big concern. Hopefully I've conveyed that enough in this video, but also in the new year, we should start to see some big time updates between all modes in terms of, gauging community feedback and responding to that with changes. So bright future, but also somewhat concerning future at the same time, depending on what you want to focus on specifically. All that being said, though, that's going to wrap things up for this one. Bit of a different one today, but hopefully you guys enjoyed nonetheless. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you guys are new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. That way you can always guarantee you're up to date with all things going on in COD. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code Immortal for that spicy discount on all Scuff, G Fuel, Gamer Advantage, and Control Freak products, and the links for all those can be found down in the description below. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.